Now we're going to do some absolute value equation solving. The steps for solving an absolute value equation is to isolate the absolute value itself. And you're going to use just good algebra. And then the trick is you have to choose the correct form for the absolute value. If you wind up with the absolute value of your function of x is less than a, then you're going to remember this means that f of x is between negative a and positive a. And you can write a single inequality. However, if you have f of x is greater than a, this means that f of x is greater than a, or f of x is less than negative a. And that or is very important, and you're going to need to make sure you have two different absolute values equations that you solve for that one. Let's do an example. Now this one looks kind of messy and ugly, but it's really not. We're going to start by isolating this absolute value. And so I'm going to add 7 to both sides. And I'm going to have this negative here. Don't lose your negatives. 2 plus 5x is greater than or equal to, when I add this, I get negative 38. Now I want the absolute value completely by itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply both sides through by negative 1. All right, as soon as I do that, negative 1 times negative 1 is positive. So this is the absolute value of 2 plus 5x. And because I multiply through by negative 1, remember I have to switch the inequality. And negative 38 times negative 1 is 38. Now this is of the form f of x is less than a. So I can write this equation right here as negative 38 is less than or equal to 2 plus 5x. You see we lose those absolute values. It's less than or equal to 38. Now you can just do algebra to isolate the x. Now here's kind of a trick. We have a three-sided equation, so what we do to one side we have to do to all three. So I want to isolate this x, so I want to get rid of this 2. To get rid of this 2, I subtract 2. What I do from this side, I have to do to the other two sides. All right, so negative 38 minus 2 is negative 40. Is less than or equal to, that cancels, so I'm left with 5x, less than or equal to 36. Now, I still want to isolate the x, and so I'm going to divide everything through by 5. What you do to one side, you have to do to all three. So this is negative 8 is less than or equal to x is less than or equal to 36/5. Now we're really okay that that's just an ugly number. It's just a decimal. And we know that that's about, what, 7.2? It is 7.2. I need that for graphing. So now I have an inequality, and so I know I'm going to have a closed point here. So I know x is between negative 8, and so I'm going to close that point off. And about 7.2. So this is the solution to this inequality. So I'm going to look at this inequality. We want to isolate the absolute value, so I'm going to add 1 to both sides. And I have the absolute value of x minus 2 has got to be greater than 6. Now I have the greater than situation, so I know I'm going to have an or. So I have two equations. The first one is x minus 2 is greater than 6. And I'm going to put a great big or. X minus 2 is less than, and I'm going to multiply this by negative 1. So it's less than negative 6. Now I have two equations, so I'm going to work them separately. To solve this one, I just add 2. So I have x is greater than 6, or here I'm going to add 2 to both sides. X is less than negative 4. So to do my graphing, x is greater than 6 is right here. And x is less than negative 4. I have an open circle.